Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Weekly Brief. I am Robbie Feinberg. I'm Director of Communications and Government Relations for the Maine School Management Association. I am coming back at you with our regular look at what's going on in the legislature. It is February 23rd. We are about halfway through the legislative session right now. And we are about to see a whole lot of important bills that will be coming up over the next few weeks. So we have a lot to share with you right now. And I will quickly share my screen. So, the first thing that we really want to highlight for you this week is to tell you that you have a real chance to make your voice heard on teacher certification. On Tuesday, February 24th, this is coming right up the afternoon of the 24th. The Education and Cultural Affairs Committee, they are taking up LD 2175, and you see it right there on the screen. It has a very long title. But the key part that you should look at there is Chapter 115, the credentialing of education personnel. So this means what this is going to be doing is basically this is where the legislature will be approving the latest revisions to Chapter 115. I should say they will be considering whether to approve the revisions to Chapter 115, and these are the big teacher credentialing rules for the entire state. So they are real major rules for the state. And as you're likely aware, they have frequently been taken up over the past few years. We've seen many changes kind of back and forth about these rules, both within the legislature and out of it. As a little bit of background, over the past year or so, the State Board of Education has been meeting, looking at potential changes to these rules, has been talking with those in the field, taking up a lot of potential changes. And now the legislature's education committee will be looking at whether or not they want to embrace those changes, whether or not they want to agree to those changes. And if approved, that will then go to the House and the Senate from there. So what is actually in these rules? Why do we feel like you should support them? Well, it does a lot of things that we feel would be strong for the state and for the teaching profession. So, number one, it makes some changes for athletic directors. That would be really helpful. There were some real concerns after the past changes to 115 around athletic directors and real restrictions on certification. This would provide multiple pathways for certification and for recertification. It would also update some of the language around pre-K teachers, and this would be helpful because more and more our districts are taking on responsibilities for those 3 to 5 year olds with disabilities. And this is intended to help with that, allow us to have certified teachers for those students. And so there's a lot of language updates there. And then it would also introduce a new portfolio pathway. And what this is that it would basically allow, there will continue to be the vast majority of folks who go into the profession will do so through college, but this pathway is seen by some in the profession and a lot of different education organizations as a way to really help career changers who want to enter education, or to help people who actually want to change their endorsement, who may have one endorsement but may need to change to another endorsement from there. And this is intended to really help out those people and to allow for more of a local process with a team consisting of administrators, of mentor teachers, veteran teachers, and then also higher ed professionals, folks who kind of work together to create a real localized, personalized pathway consisting of mentoring, professional development, college courses, coaching, a lot of real work around creating these sorts of these pathways. And then that will end up being kind of an approach towards helping them reach their new certification in terms of getting them certified or allowing them to get a different endorsement as well, as a teacher. And so we really feel positive about this. This has been the result of really months of work with folks in the field in terms of creating this new pathway. Any of these plans would still have to get approved by the State Board of Education, these new kind of portfolio plans. But we do feel like it is a really important process. We feel like it would help to reduce administrative barriers, make it easier for career changers, for people looking to attain new endorsement, to prioritizing local effective professional development. So that is one of the big changes that would be included in this LD 2175 and these new rules. We would really encourage you to reach out to your local your local representatives about this and the education committee to show that you do support this. You can actually just send an email to the education committee if you would like to. You can reach out to your local lawmakers, really share details about people who you haven't been able to hire because maybe there were real challenges with reciprocity. Maybe they were missing out on a few courses because of naming issues, things like that. We know the stories, and maybe it was a CTE teacher who just wasn't able to make it work because of different administrative barriers in the process. So sharing those stories would be really helpful. And you can also submit testimony or come actually share testimony yourself if you would like to. So you head to that link right there, mainlegislature.org/testimony, and share details about that. But we feel like this is a really important piece of legislation, can really work to help improve the certification across the state, and can really help to boost our educator workforce, and can really help to allow to have better, more quality, rigorous, pathways and professional development for our educators all around the state. So we think this would be really helpful. So we would urge you to support this if you are able to this week. In terms of other news, we have just a few different pieces to share with you. One is a very, very quick update on EPS. There's been news that's come out about the funding formula, EPS potential changes. We want to share with you kind of where things are at. As we have shared, NEPRI has released some of their recommendations on, what they would be recommending as potential changes to EPS as a result of some questions from the legislature. They've kind of been tasked by the legislature to look at potential changes to the funding formula. And there will soon be a bill that will be printed by in the legislature with these recommendations included. This is not recommendations of the education committee. It's also not even really recommendations from MEPRI. This is just their kind of what they put together as their report of some potential ideas. So really what this bill is, it isn't a, golden document that is saying it has the answers to it. What this is intended to be is a real starting point for discussions of what could potential changes to the funding formula look like. As just a few examples of things that will be brought up, will be one is the regional adjustment that changes salaries and funding for salaries from region to region around the state. Another is communities' ability to pay, which right now a lot of that's dependent on just property value. This is looking at some other factors such as economically disadvantaged rates. Special education is also being looked at, as well as the adequacy of certain other parts of the formula, things like transportation costs and whether those need to be looked at. Looking at actually the weights for certain population of students, people like economically disadvantaged students, and whether those weights should change for how much we contribute for those sorts of students as well. So there's a whole lot that goes into it. And there soon will be a bill that will be printed about this. We're expecting this sometime likely over the next few weeks. And then we are expecting that there will be a public hearing scheduled shortly thereafter. So it's going to be a pretty quick process, but we know that many, many people will have really strong feelings about the school funding formula and really wanting to have a fair formula, wanting to have something that does work better for our local districts, that is adequate, that does meet the needs of our districts at this really important time. So we will work to keep you in touch about this. Once this bill is officially out, we will get you some language around this. And then once we have official word on the timing of when there will be a public hearing, we will make sure to keep you up to date on that. But so far, as of this very moment, this is where things are. There's just a few other quick updates, so we wanted to share. So LD 2052, this was a resolve that we shared. It's in a resolve looking at the use of technology in classrooms and safeguards. This was a bill that we supported. It is going to require basically a study looking at all of these different issues of how is technology being used, where do things stand, which has really not been looked at all that much in Maine. And so we're encouraged. This got actual unanimous support in the education committee. There's also another bill that we supported, LD 2015. This is a bill that actually requires superintendents to report data on educator vacancies. And this is, we feel, a very important bill. It will basically allow for us as a state to actually have concrete information about educator vacancies, which we really do not have right now. And so a lot of superintendents see this as a positive move so that we could really speak to it. This also passed unanimously. An amended version of this passed unanimously in the Education Committee as well. And that means it likely head to the House and the Senate from there and likely pass through there. And then a few others. There will be a work session coming up this week on the bill that would require school buses to be equipped with and to use school bus crossing arms. There's also an amendment to that bill that would add in anti-pinch door sensors and also require those. Obviously, this would cost a lot of money, but the governor's supplemental budget is proposing to include about $6 million to really help local districts in order to pay those costs. And really, it would be helping to retrofit buses with those sorts of safety measures as well. So we'll have a work session on that, and we'll let you know where those things go there. And then also we'll have a work session on the governor's supplemental budget this week, which has a lot of big issues, as we know, things like the minimum teacher salary, the cell phone ban that she is proposing, a lot of big issues that are going to be discussed in there. So we're going to have a lot of things to see around this, but we will let you know kind of as these things come through this week. And then just in general, always you can check out our resources, head to our legislative dashboard. The link is right there. You can also keep track of different bills at this link right here. But for now, that's what we have. We're planning to have more in-depth information for you about particular bills in the weeks ahead. We'll have more on EPS, more on other issues that we can share. But for now, we appreciate, as always, your support, and we will talk with you soon. Thanks so much.